Hey, I'm Scotty T from Your Comedy Minute. I have a multi-talented young man with me today, a comedian, a writer, a producer. I think he probably did some plumbing down the road or electrical work. Mike Celona, how are you? Nice to have you here.
I'm doing good. I'm Italian, so everyone I know is a plumber. So that's high praise. High praise over here.
Okay. Well, Mike,
Union, go Union or go home, okay? How you
okay.
doing?
Well, Mike, I can't thank you enough for being here. You are an amazing, amazing young man. Let's
Oh,
start with
thank you.
I have you're from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I grew up I was actually born in Queens, New York. But
Okay.
my parents are like stereotypical New Yorkers. Like my
Okay.
mom is an Italian hairdresser and my dad's a Hispanic mechanic. So it's like Queens 101, you
Hispanic
know.
mechanic. I get no get
Living the
past
dream.
that.
It's like my cousin Vinny in my house. And
Yeah.
then crazy enough, in the 80s, they were like, let's move to a farm in Pennsylvania. And that's where I grew up. So,
Okay.
we would order Chinese food and they're like, I think it's General Sal. I'm like, it's not Sal, like Italian. And yeah, it was the only Chinese food place in Pennsylvania. So, my parents had a hard time
Yeah.
there, but yeah, I'm a hick. I'm PA trash through and through. But what's funny is they still live in Pennsylvania, and now I live I'm in New York City. So
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. That was my next question. You're not in Pennsylvania anymore. You're in New York City.
no, about 15 years ago, I moved to the Big Apple. I live right outside of New York now, but yeah, I
Okay.
lived in New York, and now I live in Jersey. So I am
Okay.
like a plumber, an Italian, an Italian from Jersey. Call me the Karate Kid.
Okay. Well, let's keep rolling because I got a lot of stuff written down. Um,
Awesome.
let's first start. When did you first start doing comedy? How did that come about?
In the early 90s, I was at a wedding and someone was like, "You're funny." And they handed me the mic and they're like, tell everyone a joke. And I was like a young kid and I was like, this sucks. I was like, this is dumb. And then I quickly realized that, they got to set the stage. They got to introduce you, give you some credits. You can't just,
Yeah.
you can't have a 8-year-old kid with a bowl cut who sounds like Mickey Mouse on the mic trying to get these drunk wedding folk over. So then, yeah, as most kids, I got in trouble a
Okay.
lot,
Yeah.
and teachers were like, "Hey, you don't get paid to talk." And I was like, "All right." Sit in the back of the room.
Yeah.
Um, and then I was getting married. I was,
Okay.
months away from getting married, and I was like, you know what? Might as well start on that bucket list. And
Okay.
one of those things was comedy. And I didn't even do an open mic. I booked myself on a comedy show at the Eastville Comedy Club in New York City. And it was a sold out show and I had no idea what I was doing. And I went up and I didn't know like you were supposed to do like time. Like I just stayed up there and finally they're like, "What do you've been up there 20 minutes." I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Right.
But the crowd loved it. I wasn't even telling jokes. I tried one of my jokes, no one laughed. And I was like, and then I just started talking, be like, "Look at this guy. Hey, that woman has big boobs."
Yeah.
Like just going off fight or flight. And then I did so well that they're like, "Hey, we want to book you again." And that show destroyed my heart and I took 3 years off of comedy because I was like, "Hey, I'm originally from Pennsylvania." And someone's like, "Well, go back there." And I was like,
Mm.
"What?" And
Yeah.
then yeah, I took off comedy for 3 years until 2012. And then
Wow.
I saw a Bill Burr special and I was like, that's gonna fire me up to get me back into it. And then I haven't stopped since.
Well, you covered a lot there. Like, for instance, you said about when you were young, I was class clown. You said about getting in trouble. My father used to say, you might as well stay in trouble because you sure as hell can't keep out of it.
Yeah.
No, that's true. I had 44 nights detention, in school suspension, out of school suspension. And, again, being class clown. And I love to bring joy to people, make people laugh. But what I find
Yeah.
really interesting is that started in New York, PA, back now you're back in. But let's move on to some of because your accolades are amazing. your debut album, Calzone Farm, hit number 1 on iTunes, and also it's an Amazon Prime special. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
So yeah, I was doing stand up. I did in 2009, and then I stopped from to 2012, and then I was just in New York every night. You're getting up as much as you can,
Right.
5, 7 times a night, and just building camaraderie with people and meeting people, and
Okay.
eventually like just getting bigger and bigger shows. Then I started getting paid, which I was like, oh wow, you can get
You get paid for
$10.
doing this. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I met someone that was like, "Hey, I work at SiriusXM, and we're putting together a showcase, and we would put your jokes on SiriusXM." And I never thought of it as like a career or business or making money, and I was like, "Okay, whatever." And then I did a SiriusXM showcase, and they were like, "You were fantastic,"
Okay.
and I was like, "All right, cool." Like, because a lot of stuff in comedy, every time you do something cool or big, you're like, this is gonna, and it
Oh
never
yeah.
goes anywhere. It never goes anywhere. So you're like, whatever. But this was the one thing where the guy that was producing this was like, dude, you were fantastic.
Okay.
Have you thought about putting out an album? And I was like, I don't know. And then the SiriusXM showcase started airing on SiriusXM, and I started getting royalty checks. And I was like, whoa. I
Okay.
was like, that's cool.
Wow.
Uh, so it was interesting. I've never thought of that before, and I started getting booked in like Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and like not touring, but doing like runs of shows.
Yeah.
And then
And I hate to interrupt you, but
no worries.
can you do a couple of the jokes just for me?
Yeah,
Couple of your
so
early jokes? I would love to. I would love it.
I it's New York, so it's quick. You need one-liners. It
Sure.
was a lot of
That's me.
like
That's me. I love one-liners.
one-liners are my favorites. I want to put out an album called Hack Attack, and it's just really corny one-liners. But the one joke that I remember getting a statement for, and I was like, I just got paid for that. That's nuts. Was I'm trying. Oh wait, what was it? I'm trying a diet where when I eat pizza, I'll take napkins and wipe up the grease. But then I'll eat the napkins. It's a new diet I'm trying. It's like Atkins. It's called napkins.
That's great.
um, yeah. And then it was like, I forget what the other joke was. Like how I went to a modern church, but there was a cover charge. There was a band, prizes, and I was like, that's not church, that's Chuck E. Cheese.
Right. Right. No.
Um, and
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
and then I think the last joke in that Sirius XM thing was about, it was like if you have time to argue about if it was like transgendered rights or something. Like I went hard. I was like, hey, let's talk. And it was like if you have time to argue about what gender should use what bathroom, you've never shit your pants.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
Uh,
That's great stuff.
because it's like I don't care what you look like or what God you pray to. We all pray to the same God when you're clenching your cheeks, running, going, "Oh God, oh God, oh God."
I just did a joke like that a few weeks ago. One liner where uh, anyone that says everything that happens for a reason has never shit their pants.
Exactly.
Since then I've been doing, as comedian that you think about, because I think there's a lot of subsets to that where anyone that says everything happens for a reason has never overflowed a toilet.
Well, it's
There's
like
probably a million of those.
there's oh yeah, I always keep notes for jokes, and like someone was like, "Oh, your son, I have two kids," and they're like, "He sleeps a certain way." That's like a Celona gene. But no one is ever like, "Oh my god, he shit all over the car." Like that's a Celona thing. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to work on something like that because
Yeah.
everyone's always like, "Oh, look at his hair. That's like a Celona thing." And it's like, "Sure, but he picks his nose and eats it. That's a Celona thing." You know what I mean? Like,
Well, let's move on, because again, I
yeah,
wrote down a lot of stuff. Beside, and I guess I don't want to jump off, because
no
how did we
worries.
get from the Sirius XM to the Amazon Prime special? How did that come about?
So the Sirius XM showcase went really well, and
Right.
the guy that produced it was like, "Hey, I'm starting my own label."
Okay.
and I would like to work with you. Do you ever think about putting out an album or a special? And I come from a TV background. I went to film school, and like
Okay.
I write, produce, and edit for
Right.
different networks, and have worked on different shows and stuff. And I was like, well, a lot of people at this level will put out a special, but not videotape it. They won't film it,
Right.
and it's just audio. So we signed a contract where I owned the rights to the video and they owned the rights to the audio. And we had lawyers look at it, and like it just seemed like the right time. I had at the time, I think, like 8 years of material that I was like really done with.
Okay.
Um and yeah, he had a good reputation, and it was called You Lucky Dog Productions. His name's Aaron Hodges, and I've worked with him a couple of times, and he's always been great. So it just seemed like the right move, and it honestly made me a better comic because he came out and he's like, "I want to see your like your headlining set."
Right.
And he was always like, "Why do you start with like generic stuff?" And I was like, "Oh, it just really fast-paced generic stuff get people on into my act." And then he's like, "But you end with the family stuff and about you." He's like, "I like that." He's like, "Switch them." And I was like, I don't know. Like my New York mentality is like, I
Yeah.
need to be quick and generic. And I switched it, and the crowd reaction was like double. Where I was like, "Oh crap,
Yeah.
that's
I
wild." So
watched
just
I
something like that.
I watched one of your YouTube videos. I don't know how long it was. If it was, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 9 minutes. But man, you burn. You burn, man. You don't let them come up for air.
Yeah, I ironically I'm not built for speed, but
Yeah, no.
when I'm on stage, like I get off stage and it's like I ran a marathon. Like I got one of the fat watches to let you know that you're not moving, and like literally I put it on exercise mode when I'm on stage, and my
Yeah.
heart rate is like
You
insane. I'm
lost
like,
14 pounds, right?
yeah, I'm doing backflips and kissing babies and stuff. I'm putting in the work. They call me
um,
Cedric the Entertainer. That's my new stage name. So you
well,
know.
I have something written down, but I don't think it's anymore the Best Job Never podcast. But Do Not Call List Prank Calls. That was your second album, I guess.
Yeah, so I after Calzone Farm came out, yeah, it went number 1 on iTunes. It was like the top 50 Amazon videos. We did like a press kit with it. It was awesome. It was a fun time. But then
I'm sorry, I apologize. Can you tell me how Calzone Farm, how that name came about, or what that?
I so the one of the jokes is that I went to an apple farm with my
Right,
family, and it was just wild. I got accused of stealing apples.
right.
Which I think it's silly that out of everyone, like, it doesn't even look like I eat apples. You know what I mean? Like, come on. And I say, if it was a calzone farm and it
Yeah,
was like, hey,
okay.
are you stealing calzones? It's like, all right, you got me. I got marinara in my back pocket too. I'm sorry. Take it.
I
Um,
apologize. I didn't know, but that's great.
no worries. No, I think a lot of people will put out a special and it's like some generic name, but everyone I talk to, they're like, dude, that's a weird name and it made me watch it. Like, I'm
Yeah,
like, oh,
no, it's
cool.
great. It's great. That's why I asked.
Um,
But we were on the
yeah,
Do Not Call list, which I have a
yeah.
real thing for prank phone calls.
That it's a testament to my parents. They were young parents, they were like they got
Right,
married when they were like 18, 19. So my parents were always like young, cool, and hip. And like I grew up watching and listening to Howard Stern.
right.
We would make prank phone calls in our house and record them.
Really?
Like my dad and like we would all be in it, and like we would be yelling
Okay.
in the background. It would be a whole thing. The Jerky Boys are like our
Oh yeah.
religion. You know what I
The
mean?
Jerky
So
Boys are
like
like God to me.
yeah, that's like what's funny is I would get in trouble in school, and then my parents would have to pick me up, and they're like, "What? Just don't. There's a time and a place." And I'd be like, "Frank Rizzo, you rubberneck." Like,
It,
you know
you,
what I mean?
I got to share this with you. That's kind of why I brought it up. I like to, it's
Yeah,
all about me. No, I'm
no
kidding. It's all
worries.
about
That's why
you.
we're in comedy. I
It's all
can't
about
see
you.
so
But
good,
no,
damn it.
I like to interject when I can. I don't like to interrupt, but a lot of people contact me about coming on the show, and some of them will actually give me their phone number. And when I call, I do Saul Rosenberg. Hello, hello. Yes, this is Saul Rosenberg. God damn it! Should I bring all my shoes? And they're
My
like,
shoes fell off.
right,
Oh,
right,
God
you
damn it.
got it, honey, baby. And I tell you what, I got to tell you, Mike, there have been the Gwyn Factor. There have been a handful of great comics that I've gotten on the phone, and they have no idea. And I'm laughing my ass off because they have no idea who the hell is this? Saul Rosenberg. Saul, goddamn it, Saul Rosenberg.
They hit me. My teeth are falling out and my shoes fell off.
I
Right.
love
Right,
Yeah.
right,
That's
right.
why I had to bring it up because I had Jerky Boy's shirt the Warner Brothers gave me, and I had all the CDs, and I love the Jerky Boys.
it's wild because like I think like I have kids now and it's like we never listen to like nursery rhymes. Like I don't know, just as a kid, like we would be on a road trip and it's like, let's listen to Frank Rizzo calls the plumber. You know what I mean? Like or what's the one where it's like Frank Rizzo has a Doberman in his piano. He's
Oh
like, the
God.
Mexicans are upstairs. They're throwing tar on each other. They're
Yeah, I
roofing and
threw the
shit.
little
It's
fucker
crazy.
off the roof. I threw a
It's
little
like you wouldn't be laughing if you over here. There's salsa everywhere. Like,
Frank Rizzo. Rizzo,
because my
Rizzo.
yeah. So the Jerky Boys. What's crazy is so that happened over COVID. So what happened was I had a bunch of bookers, and that was like my album came out a couple months before, and like I was going on long runs of shows. I was headlining all
Right,
over,
right.
like from Florida to Vermont. Things were awesome.
Yeah.
Then COVID happened. I had a booker die, a booker retire, someone moved. It was a wild time, and I'm home, and I'm like, I'm going crazy.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? I don't know what it was, or maybe you noticed this too. My phone kept going off, and it'd be like telemarketers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? Screw these people. So I started picking up and just
Yep.
being insane. And then like my wife and kids would be sitting there like laughing.
Oh yeah.
And like me and my wife, I was like, look, I'm gonna go in the basement for an hour and record these
Yeah.
because that's how frequent they would come.
Sure.
And that first batch, I think I got like 4 or 5 of them within
Yeah.
an hour. And I was like, and none of them are heavily edited. Like sometimes I cut the breath out, or like
Yeah.
if they're like, oh, hang on, let me get my manager. But like nothing's really heavily edited. And it's like those are COVID calls. And it's not even like I was calling people. A lot of those they called me and I just kept them on the line. Like,
Yeah. I do that even to this day when and I'll give it away, but I'll start asking if I get a toaster.
oh yeah. I'll
Do I
like
get a free toaster if I do this? And they're like, at that, they're trying, sir, we're not, and I'll just keep going. I have such a good time with that.
my wife will she's funny because she'll be like, why do you pick it up every time? I go, I can't. I have to pick it up every single time. And she's like, sometimes like you might be doing something and then all of a sudden you're like, hello, who's that? Like,
Right.
and like even my kids get in on it now. I go, hang on, you have to talk to my manager. And then my kids will come in and be like, you're fired. Get out of here. Like it's it's a family affair. So it's definitely the prank calls are generational.
Yeah.
Definitely
So,
they're
so
my
it went from your parents and you guys doing it. Now you're passing it on to the kids.
oh yeah. And
I love it. I love the story you told earlier. We're in the car. Play Frank Rizzo.
yeah, because we had the cassette and
That's
it'd be like,
great.
play the Egyptian magician.
Yeah, oh
You
yeah.
know?
Torbash. I am Torbash, the Egyptian magician. I bring all my
Like I
mountain
would say
lions.
anytime I pick up the phone, I go, Brett Lear, what? And then when they're like, sir, what do you do for a living? Sometimes I'll be like, I pull large quantities of furniture out of my ass. I'm only burnt in the neck, face, chest,
Yeah,
arms, legs
right,
area. But
right.
besides that, a little makeup conceals everything. Am I right?
I don't see any. My fingers are all numb and stingy.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
Well, we could go on for hours, but we better not. Let's move on to your stuff, buddy. What do you got coming up? Well, I got another thing I want to ask, but what do you got coming up now that we're back in the swing of things?
So it was slow and steady in the beginning, and then yeah, just doing as many shows as I can. And what's nice is I've been I started in New York City, but I kind of have been lucky enough to be on the road, like getting paid.
Yeah,
So like, I'll perform anywhere from New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Vermont, did shows in Florida. Like I'm back to where I was before.
right.
But we all definitely felt those growing pains right after COVID.
Yeah.
Um, and it was like starting over, but like things are good. You can go to MikeSelonaComedy.com. I got shows coming up. I usually go light in the summer just because I like to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And you notice, like, yeah, a lot of people just hang out, and
Yeah.
I've been writing a lot, and I
Right.
also I'm doing other things besides stand up too as well. Like I started I pitched a TV show last year at one of the networks, and I'm really trying to uh do a little bit more, do some bigger stuff.
Well,
But
I'm
I'll
glad
never
you
forget
mentioned that.
stand up.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Mike, because I looked at and I hope you could do more of them because I like that concept. On YouTube, you have episode 1 of like fake news, which I really like that, and I hope you continue doing that. And I
Yeah.
it kind of ties into the whole TikTok, Instagram skit folks, and then the stand-up comedy folks. And I think there's, both are going to survive, but you almost have to, there's some stand-up comics. I just did one with a young man that I'm not doing that bullshit. I'm doing stand-up comedy, and he's a young man.
Yeah.
And
I
you have
mean,
your old school comics that are like, I'm not doing that bullshit.
I think I don't my biggest thing is I don't want to limit myself, and I want to do what's fun and
Right.
silly. And what's silly, it's one of those things like when COVID happened, no, people were performing like outside to like birds, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. So like I have an easier time saying no. And
Right.
then to do a prank call album, I was like, this is ridiculous. Let's do it. Like
Yeah.
it sounds like fun. What do I want to do before I die? I made a prank phone call album. That's cool. Like
Yeah.
I why not? I do a lot of writing for different networks, and like I like fake content. Like that news show.
Yeah.
It's like it's a real program, but it's completely fake.
Yeah.
You know
It's
what I
all,
mean?
yeah.
So I really like that. Like I have a couple of things that we're gonna start filming that are sketch based, but it's like it looks like reality TV or like a
Yeah.
movie trailer. And honestly, the one big thing that is probably my next project that we're writing is a full audio album of sketches, like how Adam Sandler had in the 90s.
Okay.
I feel like no one really does that anymore, and I just I want to do stuff that's silly and fun and not be like, well, I need to do edgy Trump jokes. Like, I don't know. That's not me.
No.
I'm not trying to do something because it's edgy or cool or on the forefront or like you need to post this type of clip. It's like I'm just trying to do stuff that's fun with funny people. And I've had a lot of success that way, not trying to build a trend.
Well, I think that's cool, but also, and again, for people that don't know, you and I've never met. We met about 20 minutes ago when this thing started.
Yeah.
And learning about your television background, I think you need to keep exploiting that too, because that's a gift. What you said, a lot of times people say something that hits the little few brain cells I have going. And it kind of ties in with what you said. I just want to bring joy to people. It's amazing how many people get in my ass when I do my quickies or whatever, and they're like, "Get off the porch, you old asshole." And it's like,
I love
I'm
it.
I'm just trying to bring joy to people's lives, man. I can't
Yeah.
believe that I'll give you one quick example. I did a joke. It's, I don't know, old joke or whatever. Something about um, my daughter said, uh, my daughter just told me I'm a terrible father. I don't know why she'd say that. I only ever met her once. And and honest to God, on YouTube, immediately some lady lit into my ass. And 2 minutes later, another lady lit into her ass saying he was just he was just speaking the gospel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's funny, particularly on social media, where people can get on there and write whatever the hell they want. And
Yeah.
I think you have a great approach. Look, I just want to make people laugh. I want to do silly stuff.
Yeah, and I don't have an agenda. I've performed for all groups of people. The other thing is like I've read reviews of my special from like people that have seen it, and like the one I love, like a lot of my heckles are hysterically adorable. Like the one was like uh opposite of funny. I'm like, that's not like they could have been like, look at this fat idiot. But
Yeah.
instead they're like, not funny. I'm like, oh no. Like, I feel like most comics hate themselves more than what you're saying on YouTube.
Yeah.
So, and then the other one was like, shite. And I was like, oh, it's like a British guy. I'm like, that's adorable. He's like, look at this fat guy. They complete shite over here. And I just keep thinking about that. And I'm like, okay, not bad. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's taken me. I started your comedy minute 4.5 years ago when I got fired for telling jokes, and it's taken me 4.5 years, but I'm finally pretty much over it. There's a couple that can hit me, still zing me, you know.
Yeah.
Real quick. I did a
No
Mexican
worries.
joke. Did a Mexican joke, and someone just about 2 weeks ago told me I should kill myself. You Trump MAGA piece of shit.
Jesus.
And I'm
Wow.
like, bud, I'm 62 years old. It's one joke. The hell's wrong with you?
As someone that is Italian and Mexican, I can say I want everyone to be equal, so everyone should be made fun of. I
Yeah,
don't and my thing is if everyone has equal rights, I want to make fun of everyone. And you should have told your buddy, "Hey, look," or whoever said who was mad at you like, "I'm not going to joke about Mexicans, but I am going to write you a long letter," or as they call it, essay.
oh yeah, but see, I found over the years if you confront them or reply, it just comes back and they start before you know it. I don't need that
Yeah.
bullshit. I don't need that bullshit.
No. My favorite thing is when people are like, "Oh, they just go so hard," and I'm like, "Well, I liked it."
Yeah,
Like they don't know, and you've seen my act. I'm not, I'm not going hard on anyone.
yeah, no,
I want everyone to have fun, but also laugh at yourself.
no,
I have had people say, "Hey," like I've made a joke about g- gay people or trans, but it's like
right,
if you to it, I'm on the right side of it where I want everyone to laugh and have a good time. I make
yeah,
fun of religion. I'm fat people, short people, Mexicans, whites.
yeah.
I think I say white devil in my special. Like, I mean,
Well,
I don't
just
know.
just because we'll wrap it up on that as far as if that line of thing. I've now
Yeah,
get to
let's
a
end it
point
on people
where I
getting
just
mad at
put
us for
I
jokes.
put okay. When they write something terrible like that, I just write okay. Okay.
Dork. People don't say dork anymore. I'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, you dork.
I wanna touch on one other thing, and then hopefully we'll get a comedy minute out of you. But on
Okay.
Instagram, I saw you playing the guitar,
Oh
and I
yeah.
was really impressed. I just want you to know I worked in the music business, and you can play the guitar.
Nice. Yeah, it's funny because all my origin stories are because I did something bad. It's like I got arrested as a teen and I had a
I did
guitar in
too.
my room.
I
Had a
did
guitar
too.
in my room and had nothing else to do. So I taught myself.
Yeah. No, and I was going to ask because I had a woman on a couple weeks ago who brought the guitar on and she does songs. Do you ever take the guitar up with you?
No, I don't know. I love Tenacious D. I love music
Yeah.
comedy. I love Bo Burnham.
Yeah.
But for me, I just like being authentic. I don't like going on stage and being like, I need to do my monologue. I
Yeah.
like being in the moment. If I'm not having fun, I'm
Yeah.
not going to do the show. I don't look at it as work.
Yeah.
I have a blast out there and I think when people see me live, they're like, "Dude, that was so much fun. My grandma was laughing, my kids were
Yeah.
laughing."
Yeah.
Like it's an event. I'll say that
Yeah.
much.
Well, and
Without the
that's
guitar.
that's why I like doing these this way because we've never met. You don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what you're going to say. And there's some spontaneity to it. And that's where I hope you gain, and every now and again I get some magic that I'd watch it back and go, I can't believe, that was so funny, especially when someone like you just catches me off guard and blows me away with something they say.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
everything. Like, and what you said when we first started talking is just trying to bring a little laughter and be silly.
Yeah. Well, you and I mean, just there doing this, the Jerky Boys and the voices. When you lean front and did saw, and the voices you do, you're a very talented young man.
Yeah.
You don't get an Amazon Prime and number one and the stuff you've done. Don't discount that. You're a hell of a talented young man.
Yeah, you should see me belly dance, man. I get up on the pole, I'm doing backflips.
Hey, hold on there, Slappy. I'm
I
good with the
bring
old. I'm good with the old belly dancing there.
I bring a monkey on stage and beat him into oblivion.
You do a lot of jokes about little kid said, "Where's your neck?"
Oh yeah, because what's weird is like I have a split life because I am a dad to two young kids. So like I'll have a gig 5 hours away. I'll do an hour on stage, drive home, get home at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
and then have to coach T-ball at 8 in the morning. And I'm like, oh my. And the one kid was like, Coach Mike, I have a dumb question. I was like, there are no dumb questions. He's like, why don't you have a neck? Fuck that kid,
Because I eat too much gravy.
man.
I don't have one either, brother.
Because I ate
I'm
little
a light
kids that
eater.
talked back.
Well, look,
He's
I
talking
want to
about it.
thank. I want to thank you. I want to make sure if there's anything else you want to mention. Again, I will put all the links to your YouTube, anything you have going on. I know you're on Facebook. You have Instagram. I don't know if you do TikTok. Whatever you do, and anything you got coming up, I'll include links to because
Okay.
you've got a fan in me. I think you're fantastic.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the time, and from the videos when you first posted and I saw your videos, like I love one-liners. I love people that laugh. Like a lot of comics just have this ego where it's like, oh, I can't laugh if you're funny. I love a good joke. I like quick jokes. Being silly. People don't even say silly anymore. I keep trying to say it.
Yeah.
Silly. I like being silly.
Yeah, me too. Me too. The stupider the joke, the more I laugh. I mean, just stupid. Like I just give you quick, and we got to get onto your comedy minute because we're gonna run out of time.
Okay.
But just stupid shit like, what does a ant and an elephant have in common? Well, neither one can ride a bike. Stupid shit
I like
that.
that.
That has no bearing on anything, but yet people go, "What the hell is wrong with him?"
I also like writing one-liners that I'll never use. Like I've
Well,
submitted
send them
writing
to me for
packets.
shit's sake. Send them to me. I'll use them.
I just wrote I got an unsolicited call from and the number was from Egypt. I'm guessing it was a pyramid scheme.
All right. Let's
Hello.
let's get on to your comedy minute. You know what it's all about. It's the thing that I love. Everybody hates them, but I love them. So, Mike Celona, your comedy minute.
And these are not jokes. This is just like a fun story that makes me laugh, right?
Anything you want it to be, Mike.
Okay. So, my grandfather honestly just died a couple weeks ago and it's been pretty rough. And he was not like your average grandfather. He was a biker. It was insane. But when I was kids, me and my brother did Boy Scouts and we went away for the weekend and I won a gun rack and he's a hunter. So I gave it to him. But the story made me think about him because it was me and my brother and this guy brought an eagle and he's like, we're in the front row. We're little kids. He's like, all right, so I have this eagle and his name's whatever, Biscuits. And
Right.
like, this is how he does this. And he's just, when you're a kid and you look at eagles and he goes, the biggest thing is they don't like their vision. It's all about movement. So if they're a mile high, they'll see a mouse move. So you have to stay calm around them or they freak out.
Oh, no.
And at that moment, my brother got stung by a bee in the front row. And dude, this is like early 90s. We have like blonde bowl cuts. We're in the middle of Pennsylvania. My parents are like New Yorkers, like, where the fuck? Like, why are there bugs out here? Like, my dad would hit a deer with his car, and he was like, oh my God, I just hit a dog with sticks on its head. So we're at this compound on Boy Scouts, and my brother gets stung by a bee. And the hawk is now going nuts, and the guy's arms yipping. And he's like, guys, everyone. And there's like 100 kids there. They're like, and they're all rolling because the bee's still going. And the guys aren't. And the hawk is going at the guy now, and he has because it's chained to his wrist. He can't get away. It's chained to his wrist. And dude, oh my God, that's one of my earliest memories.
Man, that was
disaster.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
In mayhem, I'm like, this is comedy gold.
You took the words out of my mouth, Mike. You took the words out of my mouth.
Like I
Comedy
want to
gold.
see it in a movie. Like
Oh
my
yeah, I
brother
can
was
see it. I can see that. Oh
ah!
shit.
Guys, stop. No, you can't be. Guys, everyone stay still. And the best part is, as a kid, everyone teaches you if you're on fire, stop, drop, and roll. And that's it. They don't teach you anything else. So my brother's just rolling and like screaming. And this hawk is like nipping at him and the guy. And oh my God. I just sat there like,
Oh
what
god.
the? So yeah, that I never said that out
That's a
loud.
great comedy minute, my friend. That's a great comedy minute. Hey, look, we're gonna run out of time, but I
No
want to
problem.
try and make a pact with you. If it's okay, I'd like to have you back in 6 months or so and see how
Absolutely.
you're doing.
That
I
last
had a
story was
great
just something
time.
to
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
wet the. That last story was just something to wet the beak, huh?
I tell you, it's rough. My wife. Let me stop the recording. I want to talk to you for a minute or two off the air.
All right,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much, Mike. Man, it was a great time.
This was awesome. Went too quick, man.
I know it does.